What's up, guys? This is Mayan Gordon coming to you live at 5 on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. You guys know what to do. Post in the comments where in the world are you watching from, and what is one thing that you're grateful for today. Today, I am always grateful for a lot of things, but definitely my dogs. I'm especially grateful for all 4 of my dogs being happy, being healthy today. I am fully aware that at some point, and this might sound kind of depressing, but at some point, all 4 dogs, all 4 of them are going to die. Probably not on the same day, very hopefully, but also the fact that that's going to be 4 horrible days in my life in the future that are guaranteed to happen is something that makes me so grateful for today, not being in a place of that emotional pain, right? I think there's a lot of things that are guaranteed to happen in our life that are going to be emotionally very difficult. And I'm just really grateful today's not one of those days. So today's topic is really about your environment and how powerful your environment can be. Now, when I say the word environment, a lot of people think physical, which I do think is incredibly important. But you guys, we spend a lot of our time in digital environments. You're in a digital environment right now. You're on LinkedIn, you're on YouTube, you're on Facebook, and you're watching this content. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. But where you put yourself in a digital space has a huge impact, the exact same way that your physical environment has an impact. So I'll tell you guys a bit about how environments really impacted me from early on in school, right? When you're put into a school environment, that's going to have a really large impact on not only how you develop your intellect, but certainly your emotional capabilities and your friendships and many other things are going to be developed really based on whatever nutrients are in your environment. So I think there's a huge parallel to gardening and kind of how people grow up, depending on your garden. You need different nutrients. You need different soil. Some soil sucks and you can't grow shit on it. Some soil's amazing. It'll grow anything, right? So think about a physical space and a digital space as being just like soil. If you don't have good soil, it is so hard to grow. Like, yes, can you do it? Can you be a cactus? Can you be this special type of plant that's going to grow in that soil? Sure. But are you that type of plant is the first question. And the second question is, why wouldn't you just pick better soil? We are not rooted into our environments. We actually have an amazing ability to get up and leave. How did I go live before 1,000 followers? I did not. You don't have the ability to go live before 1,000 followers on TikTok is, I assume what you're referencing. You have to have 1,000 followers on TikTok. With LinkedIn, you have to get special access. On Facebook, you can go live, I'm pretty sure, whatever size you are, whenever you want. So let's talk about what if you're not in a good environment. First, I'd say, guess what? There's a lot more environments out there and you really can leave. Even if you don't have any money, maybe you're like, I feel like I can't leave because of my finances. And in my head, it takes a lot of money to go somewhere. While you might be losing money in terms of opportunity, it typically doesn't take a lot of money. You can hop on a bus. There's like a lot of different ways that you can travel that don't cost a lot of money. When I grew up in Seattle, in case you don't know, I grew up in Seattle, Washington. It was a really great environment for me growing up. There was a ton of education and educational resources. There was a ton of technology and technology resources. Seattle is a pretty progressive place. It was also very, I would say, supportive of different types of cultures. Seattle's got a great like underground and grunge culture, and it's typically a very friendly place for gays and other types of sexualities. I happen to be straight. I'm married to a man, but it's amazing to grow up in an environment where people are going, you know what? However you are, that's okay, and we support that. So I think Seattle was a really great place for me to grow up in. But then I became an adult, and Seattle was no longer a very good place for me. I all of a sudden started to notice people were highly competitive, not very friendly, and it was very expensive. I wasn't going to be able to afford a house. I think, the cheapest kind of crappy houses over in Seattle right now are $500,000-$600,000. And so I really told myself, you know what? I don't have to stay here. There's nothing tying me here. Yes, I have family. My parents still live in Seattle. My husband's parents live in Seattle. But I knew that I had to find a better soil, a better environment for me to be able to grow. So how did I do that? Did I know where I was going? Absolutely not. You guys, you don't have to know where you're going to leave some bad soil. You can just go and start searching. And that's what we did. We had a truck and a little empty trailer that we were staying in. We brought our tent with us. We had a little couch that folded out into a bed, so sometimes we could stay in the trailer. And we just started driving all over Washington State. We drove all over Washington. We drove down into Oregon, a little bit into California, until we found a place that we fell in love with, which happened to be Spokane, Washington. Near nature, near perfect. Come visit us. And, here we've been thriving because we were able to afford purchasing our own house. It's very dog friendly. We have 4 dogs. That was really important to us, to be in a city where it was okay to have 4 dogs, where people weren't going to go crazy about 2 of them being pit bulls. Spokane's very, very friendly, both to dogs and I'd say to pit bulls. Like, we love pit bulls here, and big dogs. Everyone has big dogs. It's either big dogs or little dogs, not a whole lot of medium dogs. Other things that have really impacted me in terms of environment, neighbors. You guys, do you talk to your neighbors? Are your neighbors something that bring you stress, or do they bring you extra joy in your life? And, our neighbors in Seattle used to really stress us the heck out. And here in Spokane, like, Ben just had a great conversation today because he's working on building a fence for our yard, a nicer fence. We kind of have a little bit of a crappy fence in one area. And so he's doing this. He loves home projects. And so he's doing this really beautiful section of a new fence in the backyard. And right across the street from us is a wonderful retired couple. Their names are Glenn and Y. Beautiful interracial couple, white man with a beautiful Asian woman. And they are just the kindest, sweetest people. He brought over his saw. I don't know what kind of saw it was, a handheld saw, because we have some junk in front of our garage. And he was like, hey, you can use this saw to cut up this junk and I'll dispose of it for you. Not only that, he went, hey guys, if you and Mayan ever want to use our kayaks, let us know. You guys can take our kayaks. We like to go to Fish Lake. It's 15 minutes away. Like, do you guys know how not only awesome that is, but how good it feels to know that I'm constantly across the street from people who are kind, caring, and love me, right? They love us the same way we love them, a type of neighborly love. And that type of environment really benefits you and adds a lot of value to your ability to grow as a person and your ability to execute. What's up, Everett? I'm going to shout some people out. You guys are awesome. Let's see. We got a couple comments in here. Joelle says, I agree. Your environment is crucial and needed. Oh, and if needed, change it. Absolutely. You moved from France 3 times, to and from France 3 times, to Hawaii twice. Yeah. And you guys, that's the other thing. Just because, and that's why I told you about how growing up in Seattle was good and then it became bad. Your soil in your environment is not always going to need to be the same thing. Just like, right, with plants, sometimes you have to switch up the soil because it needs extra nutrients or it needs this other thing that previously it really didn't. And as you as a person are changing and evolving, what you need is also going to change and evolve. So it's really important to pay attention to how your environment is impacting you. Now, that's not to say that you can't be in a shitty place, a shitty environment, and still thrive and do well. It's totally possible. I don't want to make you guys feel bad about, like, if you feel like your surroundings suck, that you're doomed. Certainly not true. But what I really do firmly believe is that your environment can support you and help you in a really impactful way that you do have the freedom to kind of choose, right? We live in these beautiful United States. Well, not all of you guys, but here in the United States, it's actually quite easy to travel. It's really a free country where you can go anywhere you like. Same with a lot of other countries. I know that traveling in Europe is very cheap and easy. So why not at least explore and see what better or more suitable environments might be out there for you? Everett says he agrees and that we should identify our business needs and our shortcomings and look to create business relationships that complement our business knowledge and skills and weaknesses. Certainly, I'm not sure how that fits into environment other than I would say people. Again, people are a really important part of your environment. So I guess a way I could relate to that would be maybe your work environment sucks because the people who are at your work are negative or not supportive. Like, when you have an idea and it's a good idea and you're excited about it, they shoot you down. That is a really hard environment to thrive in, right? When people are not supportive of you, it's hard emotionally, it's hard to grow, it's just hard. And that's actually why I've started up this new coaching group called the Champion Roundtable, is really to create prime environment for businesses and entrepreneurs. Adam says, my goodness, houses in this area are usually less than 200K and usually in the 60K area. Yeah, absolutely. There's tons of places in the United States where you can still get a house for less than $100,000. Seattle is not one of them. It's like Seattle is very similar to New York. It didn't used to be when I was growing up, you could get houses for 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. Not anymore. So things change, and you're allowed to leave if you don't like the way that those things have changed. Joelle, I am in Spokane. Absolutely. You live in Olympia. Cool. That's awesome. I love Olympia. That's one of the places we went to, the Capitol State Forest. Beautiful, beautiful spot. Also, you guys have the falls over there with that beautiful restaurant. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, Olympia is a really gorgeous place. Mark, happy Monday. Great to see you. Martha, exactly. Good neighbors become family. It's amazing to have good neighbors. And until you have them, you really don't understand and value, I think, how much potential and value it really does add to your life to have those good neighbors. But once you find them, you never want to go back to not having good neighbors. Plus 200K in most parts of Canada. Yeah, house prices have gone up in general, right? Whatever amount of time in the future, there won't be any houses in the United States that are less than 100,000 unless they're run down or have major issues with them. So that's inflation, right? That's definitely part of inflation. That's also part of the change in supply and demand. Like, there's less and less land available as more and more developers are building on the current land that exists. But I think there's also always opportunities when very small cities all of a sudden start to really grow. So that's one of the things, and one of the reasons that we moved to Spokane as well, is I could identify that it was on this like amazing upward growth path. And Spokane really is kind of exploding in a phenomenal way. Obviously, COVID has halted a lot of growth in a lot of different areas, a lot of different developments. But Spokane over the past 5 years has grown phenomenally, not just in terms of number of people, number of houses, quality of houses, but really in terms of like business opportunities, business resources, just resources in general. And so I think if you can identify a city that is coming up a little bit and you can think of a couple of reasons why it's going to continue to grow. For example, one of the reasons I knew Spokane was going to continue to grow was physical layout. Physical layout of the geography of your city is actually very important to how it's going to grow. And if you can start to understand why certain businesses or certain areas grow based on certain geographical features, or again, combination of proximity to other businesses or other resources, you start to really be able to predict, okay, this is going to be a really good opportunity if I start building, up my finances, my relationships in the city, buy a house in this city, that price is really going to go up. And one example of that is our house has already gone up, I think, about $40,000 in this past year and a half since we purchased it, simply because people are not really selling houses in the neighborhood that we purchased. So low supply and demand has gone way up. A ton of people have moved into Spokane. There's a lot of new opportunities in terms of jobs and things like that. And it's also just a beautiful, beautiful place to live. So all of those things are going to have an impact on a city growing or a city not growing. And again, that's going to change the environment that you live in and have an impact on you and your productivity and certainly your happiness. All right, I want to ask a question to you guys, which is, rate on a scale, if you're watching right now, rate on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rate the current environment that you're living in? 1 being you hate it, 10 being you absolutely love it, it couldn't be better. And I think my rating for the environment that I'm in right now, like Spokane, I would give it a solid 8, just because I think like there's probably things that could be better that I'm not thinking of right at the moment. But I love it a lot. I think it's really conducive to a lot of growth, a lot of kindness and community. And those are things that I highly value. Now, one reason I would maybe say it's not like a 9 or a 10 are there are some business resources, but again, those are new. There's not honestly a lot going on. There are not a lot of business groups that meet. There's a couple of them, but in terms of it being compared to Seattle, where there's almost endless resources for businesses and communities and groups and things that people could join. It's not quite there yet. You give it a 3 in Spokane. So see, I'm very curious. This is another great point. What might be a 10 for you is going to be a 1 for someone else. So I'm loving Spokane at an 8, but Joel says that she's got a 3. I'd love to know why. Why do you think Spokane's a 3 for you right now? What are some things you don't like about it? And maybe what's one thing that you do enjoy about it? I would say, okay, now let's talk about digital environment real quickly before we kind of end off this live stream and I'll let you guys reminisce on these things. Digital environment has become more and more important because we are spending more and more time in it, and there's more and more distraction and noise. So the noisier your environment gets, I believe, the less control you have to be able to assert your own thoughts and kind of take control over your own mentality. So that was one of the things I noticed in Seattle was there was so much going on that it was very distracting compared to over here in Spokane. I'd call it very quiet. And being able to quiet your mind so that you can focus on you is crucial at every stage in your life. So it's really good to kind of audit yourself and think, how much intentional thought am I putting into my life in general? Or am I getting really distracted based on my environment? And those distractions could be anything from literal businesses being everywhere that like catch your eye and make you think about them to, again, digital space, spending time on a platform that is constantly grabbing your attention in different ways and not allowing you to be as intentional. So one cool kind of comparison you can do is, again, giving and doing this on your own, taking all of the platforms you're on, so like writing in a column, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and rating each of those platforms in terms of how distracting is it to you versus you being really able to focus on that platform. Focus is crucial. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about how powerful focus is before. Most of us really don't need to work harder. We need to have more focused work in the areas that impact us in a positive way or help us reach our goals. So I think working hard is an incredible skill. It's an incredibly beneficial thing. But if you're already working really hard, you don't need to work harder. You need to work more focused. And I think the saying goes, don't work harder, work smarter. But that gets twisted into, I think, a different kind of message where people interpret that as being, don't work hard, try and find a hack. And it's not about hacking. It's about focused effort in the area that makes the most impact in your life. So let's see. Joel has some insights on why she thinks Spokane's just a 3. It was great for you in 2000 when you moved until 2004 when a major mistake impacted your life. Time to move. Got it. Exactly. You know what? That's another thing. Like if you have something really bad happen in your environment, oftentimes the best thing you can do is either take a break from that environment or completely leave it altogether, because we oftentimes are tied to our memories, right? Now, we don't have to be, but if we see something all the time that reminds us of bad things, it might be time to switch environment so that you're not in that negative headspace and being kind of triggered into that negative headspace, that you can really have the freedom to be intentional about your thoughts, intentional about your emotions, to make the life that you want to lead. Underemployed for 10 years with an MBA. Housing prices have gone up 40% in the 9 months. Exactly, yeah. So housing prices have gone up a ton here in Spokane in the last year specifically. For me, that happens to be a good thing because I own a property. For Joelle, not a good thing because she's renting a property and now all of a sudden it's more expensive with zero extra benefit. Like if your housing price goes up and like you don't own the house, that's typically bad. You don't want to be paying more money for the exact same situation. So that's always an opportunity for you to evaluate and say, is there a better environment for me? And start looking for what that better environment might be. Guadalupe says 8 for New York, cultural parade, gay pride, amazing culture, but New Yorkers are the rudest people in the world. Yeah, see, I love that. So I agree. I think I've never been to New York, but I love the environment of culture. It has definitely one of the strongest, craziest cultures. Like, there's crazy people everywhere. I kind of love that about a place. I love people watching. I love the psychology of trying to understand why someone's dressed like a puppy dog, or, hanging off the railing backwards, upside down, playing the flute. Like, there's all sorts of really interesting, crazy things in New York. But for someone else, that might mean it's a 1, because they don't want to be distracted by that. They don't like how it feels to look at those things. There's so many different ways that we feel based on our own experiences, and in part based on our DNA, right? So just because something is amazing for someone else doesn't mean it's going to be amazing for you. Once you realize this, I actually think there's a huge power in it. Once you realize, wow, someone does like to live in a place that I would hate. Same thing is true of what you see on social media. Now, everyone's showing pictures and videos of how awesome their life is. Don't ever forget, awesome for them, not awesome for you. You're a different person and you don't want their life. You might tell yourself you want parts of their life, but I can promise you you don't want their actual life, because you're a different person and you feel differently than they do. And once you recognize that, it really takes a lot of the envy out of being on social. It takes a lot of the comparison off of social. And those things are really, really detrimental. If you are comparing yourself to other people in an envious way, or in a way where you're wishing you had what they had, you need to cut that out now, because it is not helping you emotionally. It's also not helping you in terms of productivity. Again, that's where you really need to quiet your mind and focus in on how you feel about things. How you feel is completely independent of how anyone else feels. And once you figure that out in a quiet scenario with no distraction, you can make it really permanent inside you. You can really give strength to it, to where once you go back into these digital environments where, again, everyone's showing off their lives, it doesn't affect you as much anymore, because you're holding on so tightly to what you want, and you are able to make the distinction that what they want is something different. Awesome. I appreciate you guys so much. As always, if you want to reach out to me, I'll throw up my email address right here. If you're having a hard time, I'm here for you. If you need some advice with your business when it comes to marketing, building brand, building long-term, super stable business, please feel free to reach out to me. And then also, if you have any questions about TikTok, I love talking the TikTok, and I'm learning new things about it every single day. So I'll share a quick tidbit before we go here. One of the things I really discovered this week is that TikTok really likes when you use other popular creators' original sounds. And here's the logic behind why that should be true in any case, outside of, I've tested it now. But the reason that should be true is that part of the platform's success is in getting its users to share the content that's generated on it. Now, part of the content that's generated on TikTok is completely audio, right? It's sound. So when a popular creator puts in a sound and it's a new original sound, the platform wants that sound to become popular too. It wants that sound to be shared, especially if people indicate that it is a sound that they like. So maybe not any sound, but a sound that has some amount of traction, or people have indicated that they like the sound, it's not a bad idea to use that sound in your own videos. And a lot of you guys aren't even aware of this feature, but if you go on any TikTok video, let's go right here. Here's a TikTok video. Oh, it's got the comments up. There's a TikTok video. Down here in the corner, there's a little spinning record. If you tap that, you can then use this sound in a video. You can directly tap this button, which says use this sound. Or the other thing you can do is add it to your favorites. There's a little favorite button up there. You can save it to your favorites section of your sound library. And then when you're creating original content, you can use someone else's sound. And that is actually a really great way to build traction, get followers, get visibility and discoverability through the app. Hope that's helpful for you guys. Again, if you have any questions about TikTok, you're curious about whether or not it might benefit you, your business, or your brand, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm completely honest about what the capabilities are on TikTok. I will not try and hype you up on it just to sell you something. In fact, what I tell everyone is TikTok is not a short-term game. Do not get into TikTok unless you're willing to commit to it for at least 6 months. But I think the real benefit comes about 8 to 12 months in. That's when you're going to start to see actual traction. Before then, you really shouldn't expect traction. You should expect a lot of hard work, a lot of skill building. You guys, TikTok is not just a platform. It's something that is going to help you build your video skills and build your marketing skills that then apply across every single other platform. So do you want to get better at marketing? Then you should probably be on TikTok so that you can learn to get better at marketing, especially through video content. Outside of that, I do think there's a huge potential to grow a large following. I think there's huge potential to go viral. But should you expect that? No. I don't think you should expect that. I think that should be the bonus to you learning how to get better at video and better at marketing. That's all I got to share with you guys tonight. Hope you have a fantastic one. We will be back live at 5 tomorrow.